Jonathan. Today I'm joined by Shane Smith. What's up, Shane?
What's up, John? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm great. I'm wonderful. I can't complain.
Absolutely, brother.
If I were any better, man, I would probably be Batman myself right now. And also joined by, I'm not sure that would be a good thing, though, to be Batman. Like a curse. Anyway, we're also joined by Jason Galt. How are you doing, Mr. Jason?
I'm doing well. I'm very excited about this video.
I knew you would be. And we're also joined by Lucas. How are you doing there, Mr. Luke?
Doing pretty good.
We are going to discuss our rankings for every single portrayal of Batman on the big screen, with the exception of a few, rare and odds and ends like the 30 serials. Nobody really cares about that. We're just going to focus on Batman on the big screen and a little bit of Batman and maybe an animation or the silver screen. Today, we are ranking every Batman. A good person to start this off with would probably be Christian Bale. He's going to get various spots on our top Batman list. I think that some of us are going to really dislike his portrayal and some of us are really going to like his portrayal. I'll go ahead and start off. I have Christian Bale ranked number 2. I did not mind him changing his voice in a way, to me, that was very realistic of how he would try to alter his voice in some way whenever he's wearing the cape and cowl, right? I've always said this on my show, but if I was Batman, I would not walk up to criminals or whoever and say, I'm Batman. I would say,
Yeah.
Batman. I would try to change my voice in some way. I think that's
Where is he?
Where are the others? I think that's a very.
Well, you gotta hold your nose. Where are they?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Where is he?
I think that he gets a lot of unnecessary dislike because of that one single detail. Okay, let's gloss over that one single detail for 1 second. Okay, Christian Bale has got to be one of the best actors of all time. He literally encompasses so many different roles and changes his body, changes his accent. This dude has got to be at least in your top 5 actors of all time. And if he's not, you might be a little crazy. But anyway, I'm just saying, like,
if he's not, we know who he is. Oscar Isaac.
The greatest actor of all time.
Right. One of the best actors to ever do it. Okay. Not only that, but he got in tremendous shape for the role, which most of these guys that play Batman did, with the exception of Adam West, but we'll get to that one later.
We don't have to.
No, we do.
So I think that Christian Bale's portrayal of Batman was wonderful. He's a great actor. And I think that people should cut him some slack when it comes to the voice thing. And the only reason he was second fiddle to Joker, because literally anyone would have been second fiddle to Heath Ledger's performance in that movie. I don't care what actor you put up against Heath Ledger in that movie, they're going to be second fiddle because that is the greatest performance of all time. But anyway, what do you think, Mr. Jason? I know you're excited to tell us. What do you think about Christian Bale?
He's fine. I think him and Affleck are two sides of the same coin. Whereas I think Affleck's Batman is so much better than Bale's, but Affleck's movies are so much worse than Bale's, if that makes sense.
Affleck's got some good movies, though. He's got The Town. He's got Argo. He's got some.
Whoa! His Batman movies.
I'm talking about Batman v Superman, Justice League, and the Snyder Cut versus the Dark Knight, Batman Begins, and Dark Knight Rises. I think overall the Bale movies are so much better, but it's not Ben Affleck's fault. So I have Affleck higher than Bale because the voice it's bad. And by Dark Knight Rises, I think he's just doing it to mess with people, like at times.
Can I say something? What is absolutely nuts to me is how everyone thinks that Bane's voice is just fine. I like.
Oh no, I have a problem with that too.
But everyone has the big problem with Christian Bale's voice.
Well, I'll tell you, I have Christian Bale listed. I only did 6 people on my list. I realized afterwards that there's like dudes from like that were in black and white playing Batman that I've never even knew their names. I knew that stuff existed, but as Adam West is about as far back as apparently there was a lot of other stuff going on with Batman back in the day. But I have Christian Bale as number 1. I think that, yeah, look, I know that some people, there's someone out there watching this that completely agrees with me. There is someone who is casual enough to agree with me 100%.
Doesn't mean you're casual.
I think that Christian Bale's a great actor too. I think you were talking about how he got in phenomenal shape for these movies, and he does this thing with his body. It's like, I don't know how he does it, but he will gain weight and lose weight and do it all on purpose. I mean, I'm not like, he's probably not even in my top 5 favorite actors, but The Dark Knight is one of my favorite movies of all time. Not because of the fact that not exclusively because of the fact that it is a marvelous Batman film, but because it is an amazing movie. That movie is awesome. Now Batman Begins and The Dark Knight Rises, both great movies in their own right, and all of which played by Christian Bale. But Christian Bale, to me, I don't care about the voice. Like, the voice doesn't bother me none. I understand Jason's point of view, and then maybe anybody, John, yours. It's easy to be kind of critical about, or what y'all are saying, it's easy to be critical about the voice because of the fact that it's like, that dude doesn't sound anything like really like that casually. Not even 30 minutes ago in the movie, he didn't sound like this. So I could see where that would be a little bit like dramatic, but to me, it's also sells it to your earlier point, John. It's like, you wouldn't just walk up to someone and be, hey buddy, my name is Batman, put that thing down,
Right.
It's terrifying. You think like in Batman Begins when he pulls up Bobby Elvis from Sons of Anarchy, and he's hanging upside down and he says, "Swear to me." That dude is peeing his pants. It's that voice. First of all, if you're a billionaire who everyone, especially the age where people have cell phones and everyone has seen you talk, heard you talk, you can't talk in your own voice. Because people are gonna be like, no, wait a second, I've seen that chin and that voice before, So having that crazy voice on top of in the freaking darkness by this dude with freaking horns on his head, inspires terror. And I think the voice makes sense. And I guess you could take it as silly, but I don't see how. Like when he does, when he's got somebody hanging there, or in any of those situations, and he yells at them, screams at them, looking like that. Yes, sir. Whatever you want. So,
right. So where do you have him ranked at, Lucas?
Number 1 for sure.
Wow. Okay.
I think a big part of that too is the bat suit, coming from all the previous versions, just looks so awesome, and he's able to move his head.
Yes, exactly. Like he has, it looks like a little bit
instead
more
of
mobility.
Doing, this having to turn, Michael
100%.
Keaton suit. Oops. Anyhow.
Jason, where did you have Christian ranked at?
I have Christian Bale at 5.
Whoa! That's
wait till you hear my 5, Jason.
Okay. With that being said, let's move on to another portrayal of Batman that some groups love this portrayal and some groups, it's not their Batman. And I might be in that group because it's Adam West. And for me, Adam West, I have 8 Batman on my list, by the way, but one of them is even below Adam West. I have tried to find some sort of appreciation for this wacky, goofy, super campy show, and I can find none.
I think you would have to have watched it at the beginning in was it the 60s?
Yeah. Well,
I think you might have had to be there to think it was good.
Exactly.
I wasn't.
Hold on, Jason. I know you're dying to speak on this, but Adam West, honestly, like, I really wish that I could say something positive about this portrayal of Batman, but I can't. It's too goofy. It's too silly. He doesn't bring anything memorable to the role other than his goofiness and wackiness, him doing dance moves in the nightclub and throwing the bomb on the Ducks. I mean, this Batman is just a freaking joke, okay? For the ones out there that love Adam West, hey, you're entitled to your opinion. This is mine. He sucks. What do you think, Jason?
I have Adam West at number 3. The first two are so close to my heart that I can't move him above that. But when I was a kid, my grandmother bought me the VHS of Michael Keaton's Batman. And I literally watched it so many times that I could quote it from beginning to end. It taught me my first curse word. My dad, who grew up in the 60s, he watched the Adam West Batman. So that was a connection point to me. Like, I understand it's campy. I love camp. I don't mind camp. I think it's got its place. I think if you read any Golden Age comics, there's a lot of camp in there. There's Batman fighting on a giant typewriter. There's Batman flying a plane. There's like, the day the Bat sold out. It's a comic that I have from that era. For what he did, I don't think that we get Christian Bale or Michael Keaton or any of those without Adam West.
You're right about that.
While I understand that there's a lot of people who don't love it, I adore it. And it's this weird connection point that I had with another generation over my love of a man dressed as a bat.
Each his own. What you got, Shane? What you think? What you think about Adam West?
I mean, look, I'll put it this way. This kind of to what we were saying. You say you had to have been around back then to appreciate it to that degree. This is the thing. I'm almost 30. I'm 29 years old. And in all honesty, to me, it's the equivalency of me buying one of the past 3 or 4 years of John Madden, the football. Rest in peace to John Madden, by the way. And going back and be like, man, 99 was my favorite one and still is. No, it's not, dude. there's nothing. It's like me never playing 99 and going back and being like, yeah, I'd rather play this than play, 20 or, even as much as 2016. I do not care about Adam West. Good for him. I know that it meant something to somebody. It laid the groundwork, but I have him as number 5 on my list of 6.
There you
Shane,
go.
I retort NCAA.
NCAA. Ask me the last time I played NCAA without being forced to.
Jeffrey Fest.
Without being forced to. I was
forced.
That's different. That's different. That's only because NCAA has not come out since 2014.
That's
We're
true.
going to get a new NCAA soon. I think it comes out either this year or next year.
Hey, bring it
I'm
on.
very excited about that.
But I can't wait to play it. What you got?
Sorry.
Where do you have Adam West?
I didn't even consider him in my list, and that
That's how low he is.
kind of ranked the main most recent movies, of Batman's, not the old series or anything.
So in other words, he's at the bottom for you.
Oh yeah, he way down there.
He's irrelevant.
Ones, I know. Yeah, he's not. It's not the same category. It's fine. It's fine if people like him.
Yeah, my dad.
Yeah.
Need a cat man to watch it, but it'll be fine.
It is fun to watch clips of that old show and just be like, what is happening? This is what people really thought was cool for Batman. It's more of a spoof is what it feels like, but that's just because since we were kids, there's been the grittier Batman, movies. And so when I think of Batman, I think of somebody that's scary and dangerous, and Adam West is neither of those.
Might I give a suggestion? There is an audio book of The Dark Knight Returns. Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, one of the greatest comics ever written. Narrated by Adam West. And it is...
Now, he has a great voice. I love Adam West's
fantastic.
Voice. I love him on Family Guy.
Fantastic.
Even his voice is goofy to me. It reminds me of a William Shatner or something, it's just cheesy, goofy.
You should listen to the audiobook. It's awesome.
I should pay taxes. I should pay my light bill. I should wake up in the morning and put my shoes on. That is not something that I should do. That is not on my list of things that Shane should do.
I think that this character or this portrayal is probably safe to say it's low for everyone. George Clooney What did you guys think about George Clooney?
I will say this: the man has got one heck of a chin.
Fantastic.
Now, if with that mask, I was looking at a picture of him when I was thinking about all this stuff. You think of Batman, he's got that face, in the mask. He's got that good, strong, with the cleft in there. It's like, that's a good looking Batman. You can tell. On the other hand, that was nipple suit, right?
Well, there are two nipple suits.
One of the nipple suits.
One of the two.
Is the Clooney one? That's the one with Mr. Freeze.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Okay. It has been years since I've seen that, and I don't remember being super impressed with it. He doesn't, he's definitely not at top for me. I would say he's probably towards the bottom, right under another one we'll get to in a second.
I think that for me, George Clooney is just one notch above Adam West. He definitely brings a lot more to the role than Adam West. And you know what? I think that in a lot of ways, he gets hate for no reason necessarily due to his own fault. The movie was terrible. Don't get me wrong. Batman versus
Superman. He's
Superman.
not in it.
He is.
You watch Batman and Robin. I think Batman's on screen all of 10 minutes. It's not his fault because he's nowhere to be found.
He's a great Bruce Wayne. I think that and just like Lucas said, he's got the chin, he's got the look, and he's a great actor. So I think that if you would have never cast him in that film and then announced, 20 years later that he was going to be Batman, maybe in a 2007 movie, everyone would have been super pumped about it. So it's not necessarily his fault, even though from what we have to go off of, I'm sorry, George, but I got to put you pretty low, just right above Adam West. I think you brought a lot more than Adam West did to the role, but the movie was garbage. So that's about as good as I can do for you.
I got George Clooney at number 2.
What?
I've got George Clooney at number 2. Now, mind you, I had Christian Bale at number 1, and now I have George Clooney at number 2. Now, hear me out.
Interesting.
The reason why I say this is because, for one, that movie had so many characters in it, and as a kid, when we were kids, I mean, for me, we would watch this movie and be like, "Oh man, it's Dr. Freeze." It played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is crazy, and it's Dr. Freeze, and it's like Dr. Freeze had a reason to be like a bad guy. Like he was it wasn't just like, "Oh, I'm gonna ruin the world" or anything like that. But on top of that, George Clooney to me was the first Batman movie I ever saw. Now, mind you, obviously I've seen a lot more since then, but that was the first one I ever saw. And I think that George Clooney, he played for a good rich man. As far as Bruce Wayne goes, to be completely honest, it's been such a while, but Batman and Robin was the one that had Alicia Silverstone played Batgirl. Am I right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course we had Old Boy played Robin. He was in something else more recently, like a TV show, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's in an NCIS.
NCIS New Orleans.
Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah, that guy. No,
he was
and
on
then
the set of a woman. That movie made so much money.
I'm just saying, for me, that movie was great. I thought it was wonderful. I thought I thought it was wonderful when I was a kid. As far as going back and being like, "Hey, I'm going to stand by this," I don't know that I would say that, but I still have George Clooney as number 2 because for a lot of people my age, that movie was a big deal, and it was our live action Batman that we got, and we thought it was cool. So I thought George Clooney was a great number 2.
He holds a special place in your heart.
He does.
I have Clooney next to last.
Okay.
So sixth or 7th.
That's fair. I think that's where most people would rank Clooney, not necessarily because of his performance, but because of the circumstances and the movie he was in. So with that being said, let's talk just a little bit about Kevin Conroy. For those of you who don't know about Kevin Conroy, he's a very iconic voice actor that portrayed Batman in the 90s. A lot of the I think it was the animated series. He was also portraying the voice in the Arkham games, which are awesome.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
awesome.
this dude has a phenomenal Batman voice. That's why I can't really rank him that high. I do think he's better than Adam West, but maybe
so much West hate, man.
Right? Unnecessary Adam West hate. But I think that Conroy has the greatest Batman voice probably ever. But like we said, now he has portrayed a alternate version of Batman in one of the recent DC television shows. Maybe whenever they had a Flashpoint or something, he played a version of Batman.
Yeah.
He's about as scrawny as I am. Okay. So he definitely didn't do a good job in that show for me, as far as when you think of the look of Batman. I mean, he's not an ugly guy, but I'm just saying that he doesn't feel like Bruce Wayne, and he definitely doesn't.
He's not a hunk.
Yeah, exactly. Not everybody can be a hunk like me, Jason. No, I'm just kidding. But that was lame. But the voice is great, but I can only give him so much credit. So I think that I will put him snugly between Clooney and Adam West. What do you guys think?
I respect that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I loved the Arkham games. They were fun. I mean, just because I like the open world concept and playing with Batman, and obviously, just like any other kind of game like that. And unless it's Grand Theft Auto, it gets a little repetitive. But still, the games were awesome. That's not what's on trial here. I guess he is. The voice is great to me. And I mean, I remember being a kid, and just as much as we watched the X-Men shows, we watched the Batman shows too. So, I mean, I couldn't tell you a whole bunch of stories from an episode or different episodes, but I do remember that was very frequently watched for me as a child, back in the same days that I would be singing the praise of George Clooney. So, I mean, as far as I don't have a bunch of information to give you about how I feel about him passionately, but
yeah, that's fine. We're just keeping it short and sweet.
Yeah, definitely. Will Arnett's cooler.
That's a good point. I didn't think about him, but he does have a really great Batman voice.
Yeah, I mean, as far as like character goes, it's obviously all jokes, but in the same breath, like, not to deviate too much, but I thought that Will Arnett as an animated, you also don't have anywhere near the amount of material to choose from, just a picture perfect buku money spent on a movie. But in the same breath, Will Arnett's pretty cool Batman as far as animated voices go. Nice honorable mention.
Let's try. I love Will Arnett's voice.
Yeah, that movie is really good, Lego Batman. And when my daughter is a little bit older, her and I will definitely be watching that together. I think that's a great movie. What you think about Kevin Conroy, Lucas?
A few years ago, I really was getting into like learning a lot about voice actors and stuff like that, just because it was interesting and I can kind of copy stuff pretty closely, and was just watching a lot of different voice actors and watching interviews with him and Mark Hamill as the Joker, for the series and for the games. His voice is great. Like he's the Batman voice for sure.
Heck yeah. Jason, did you speak about Kevin Conroy yet?
I haven't. I could go on and on. Kevin Conroy is my number one.
What? What?
He is. Boy. Hang on. When I read Batman comics, Kevin Conroy is the voice that I hear, like in my head. So therefore, like, as much as I love Batman movies, I read a lot of Batman comics. Kevin Conroy was my Batman growing up. That's what Batman sounds like. That's how I hear him in the comics. He can do so much with his voice. Kevin Conroy is my number one.
Very interesting.
That's crazy, Jason.
All right.
Hey, it may be crazy to us, but you know what?
Hey, yeah.
More power to you, Jason.
I definitely agree with you. I hadn't even thought about that until you said that. But reading a Batman comic, or that is the voice that my brain goes to for sure.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got the voice. There's no question.
So he is the Batman.
And I guess, I mean, to be fair, like I was a good bit older before I ever actually realized that there was like live action Batman stuff like back in the day. So, it's wild to me to just think about the fact that that guy obviously was very important to most of our childhood. So whether we realize it or not, that when it comes down to superheroes, when we were kids, Batman was that guy. From what I remember, Batman was like pretty much like one of the only guys on the market. I mean, obviously you had everybody else, but when it comes to actual television and stuff between X-Men and Batman, that was it.
Let's talk a little bit about Val Kilmer, guys. This is another victim of terrible filmmaking and bad writing, and just a victim of the time, really, honestly. I have to put Val Kilmer at number 4, which places him on my list above Kevin Conroy, above George Clooney, and above Adam West. He definitely has the look, and don't get me started about Val Kilmer's acting chops. Wonderful actor. He was in a lot of great roles, in the 90s. He was Doc Holliday. He played the Jim Morrison in the Doors film.
Yeah, that was a great movie.
He had a lot of potential. So that's why he's so high on my list. I guess more so not necessarily because of the movie that he was in, definitely not because of the movie he was in, or even so much saying his performance that we saw, but just thinking of the potential that he had, that he could have possibly brought to a part 4. But let's be honest, in the Schumacher movies, there was only so much that he could do. So that's where I have him, for better or for worse. I like Val Kilmer as a Batman. Like you guys are talking about growing up, he wasn't the first portrayal that I saw of Batman, but he was my second. I guess. So the first is really special, but the second is also a little special too. So that's how I feel. What do you guys think?
I have him at number 4 on my list of 6. His movie is the movie I've seen the least, but in the same breath, I will say, like, kind of going back to for the sake of nostalgia, like I remember that movie like when I was younger, and I also remember Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that movie was pretty sick because of the cameos, or it's not, I guess it's not cameos when they're characters in the movie, but I mean, I feel like for some reason, like, you know, it's almost like people were like, oh my gosh, like, look at all these celebrities they're getting in the MCU. And it's like, man, they were going pretty hard on them Batman movies. Like, they were clearly spending the budget on the actors and not like the story, like the development of the actual production. I don't know. I thought Val Kilmer, which, I mean, I guess you kind of catch yourself like almost like just judging the movie as opposed to judging the actor as a standalone in the movie. But I mean, that Val Kilmer movie was a pretty all right movie to me. I remember, you know, I feel like after the Dark Knight series, I just start to look at everything like, oh, it's kind of corny because it's not as serious as the Dark Knight was. I thought that movie, obviously that movie didn't come up afterwards. I'm just talking about when I got older and started to be way too critical about things in obviously poor fashion. But I think that Val Kilmer is number 4 on mine. So
yeah, I have him 4th.
Val?
Just remember those movies, and Jim Carrey, like you said, I love Ever Enigma.
I think Jim Carrey would make a phenomenal Joker today.
Mhm.
Like, imagine them casting him as the Joker today. Sign me up for that. Anyway, what you got, Jason?
He's 7th on my list. He's dead last.
Okay. And I can see that argument. A lot of people don't care for Val Kilmer in that role, and they didn't like what he did. And the movie obviously was trash. So it's not much to argue against there.
yeah.
He's lukewarm at best.
Yeah, I can see that. Like I said, I can see that argument. Let's talk about Michael Keaton. For a lot of people, or for some people, this is their number 1. For me personally, it's my number 3. I think he was great. He was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, not only can we use the pioneer argument for Michael Keaton that Jason likes to use for Adam West, but also, I mean, this is the first serious incarnation of Batman that we got on the big screen. He did a great job. He's not the biggest guy, but when you put him in that big rubber suit, he definitely looks a lot more large, I guess. So, yeah, I think that Keaton, phenomenal actor, by the way, BT Dub, but great job. Wonderful Batman. I got him at number 3. What you think, Shane?
I want to hear Jason first, actually.
I have him at number 2. I think he's a phenomenal Batman. He's menacing enough and quirky enough to believe that you could see this dude dress up in a bat suit. So he's my number 2.
He definitely had the crazy thing going for him. What you got, Shane?
I have Michael Keaton last on my list.
Wow.
I personally, I think that those two movies, I guess it was 2, right?
Yes.
Michael Keaton, yeah, those are 2 of the most boring movies I've probably ever watched in superhero cinema.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's an unpopular opinion.
Dude,
You never saw Superman Returns.
Yeah, I didn't see that either, honestly.
Also, never saw The Hulk starring Eric Bana as the Hulk.
I did see that, and even as a kid, we lived right down the road from the movie theater, and we walked out during that movie. But I think that Michael Keaton is. I think that he is probably the worst representation of Batman.
Dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, I could be cool with those movies being wiped from the existence of.
Don't you say that?
I mean,
don't mean that, Shane.
Sure, yeah, freedom by all means. People have the right to watch whatever they want to watch, but Michael Keaton's not it.
Wow.
Well, there's way too many people that you can compare him to, and he's going down on the list. I'm telling you, we could take a poll publicly, and I probably will stand alone. But still, I'm telling you, there's no room in my Batman life for Michael Keaton. Thanks a lot, Michael Keaton. You did nothing for me.
That's nuts. What you got, Lucas?
Thanks for. I got him at 3 just for nostalgia's sake, I believe. I actually just watched most of that movie a couple of days ago. My wife was watching it, and she loves it because they had, as kids, her older brother got it. They watched all the time, and I watched it the other day, just like, hey, why is he taking his time going up the steps in this freaking chapel instead of freaking bataranging up there or whatever he's doing? Like, why is it taking him so long to get up there? And then how did all the other goons get up there? We just watched the Joker. Like, what a
great point.
Good.
What a great point. He can't even, he can't even get up there.
Like, why is he walking up the stairs? He's Batman. What's happening? I know we need to add a few more minutes to this movie, but come on, man, get up there and kick some butt.
Desperation. Michael couldn't sell it himself. So
and why is the Joker longer. Beating you?
Yeah. You're making some good points there, but don't forget Batman Returns. That movie was dope. Dare I say, I think I like that film better than the first Batman movie. I love that movie. So unfortunately, we lost Lucas for the last portion of this show. He had an emergency that he had to attend to. So Lucas, you're in our hearts and in our minds, and we already miss your wonderful, loving presence.
Thank you.
Do we know that Lucas isn't Batman?
Owning Lucas.
I mean, I've never seen him and Batman in the same room.
I was just about to say that.
It's a really good point.
He maybe got a signal somewhere.
One of these days, he might be our favorite interpretation of Batman. I think it's only appropriate that we end this conversation with Ben Affleck.
It's so hard to separate him from those movies. He was doing the best with what he had, man. And there were parts that I really liked about what he did, like a light voice modulator, and I think the suit looks good. But
So where do you have?
I have him at number 4.
Number 4. Hey, that's fair. I think that sometimes we can all be guilty of this, and I'm probably guilty of this by putting Val Kilmer as high as I did. But, well, maybe not. That's not a good example for this particular case. But sometimes we base not their performance or not how they looked or whatever, but we base our opinion of the movie, and we kind of use that to rank our Batman. Right. I've done it for some of these, otherwise you can make an argument for Clooney to be in the top 3. Great actor. He had a lot of potential, but for me, with Ben Affleck, I think that Ben Affleck is my most complete and most favorite Batman portrayal that we've seen so far. I know that is an unpopular opinion, but not because of what he did not because of the movies themselves, not because of the writing, not because of the directing, but because of directly what Ben Affleck did, how the suit looked. I don't like that he was a murderous psychopath somewhere, but his portrayal, man, like I said, that suit is definitely my favorite Batman suit. And it's so close to what we had in the classic cartoons, which is why I'm surprised you don't like him a little more, Jason. I know that you hated the fact that he was a murderer, which is understandable.
Puts a damper on things.
It does. And it kind of goes against the character of Batman in so many different ways that it's not even funny. But I think that that's my favorite. Like, his acting skills, top notch. The costume, awesome. The Alfred, loved him. Even his gear and equipment and some of the vehicles in the Batmobile, like, pretty cool stuff. So I have to say that I think that Ben Affleck is my favorite Batman.
I think that I don't really think that it's that far-fetched what you're saying, like your point of view. I have him listed as number 3 on mine.
Yeah.
Now I don't think that anybody is going to find that your opinion to be like incredibly controversial. I mean, obviously Jason doesn't agree with you, and there's a vast swath of the population that probably does not agree with you at all. But I think
I have him at 4.
Yeah, I mean that's a good, and that's still pretty high on the list, I guess. Ultimately, if you take all the people who have played Batman, I think, to me, and this is coming from someone who, and I've expressed this several times when I've come on this show, I consider myself a casual, but in some areas of comic book cinema, if you will, I feel like I'm a little bit more less inept, if you will. But when it comes to this, so this is just me in my humble opinion. I almost feel like maybe Ben Affleck became Batman at the wrong time. Like maybe it was a little too late. Like the window of opportunity, not just because of him as an actor and not mainly because of him as an actor, but because like he got tossed into being Batman in a time where it was Marvel versus DC at war. Everybody was not only, nobody was I mean, somebody was, but the masses were not all just hypercritical about superhero movies when George Clooney played Batman. You know what I'm saying? Those movies probably did great in box office, and people probably were like, man, that was awesome when they left. You know what I'm saying? With Ben Affleck, the amount of scrutiny that he had to be put under, like the way that people were like, this is make or break, like those movies that he was in, like they could have been better movies. Ben Affleck, they tried to do something different. They didn't try to do, well, we're going to start with Batman and then we're going to do the movies were like always one step behind where they should have been. And to me, I feel like Ben Affleck, like you said, John, is like, man, dude, you could have been that guy, but it's not really a fault of your own ultimately that you kind of suck, like that this kind of sucks, like this Batman, like they wrote you as a blowhole and you are killing, like you said, you didn't like the fact that he's a psychopathic murderer. I don't know a lot about lore, but I do know that Batman does try to make a point not to kill people. That is a standard practice for the Bat.
That's the one rule that he has.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's and yeah, and they tossed that out with the Krypton. So
I mean, I'm not going to get on this rant, but it doesn't shock me when you look at the rest of how those movies were set up.
Yeah.
Here's another thing too.
Snyder would have no respect.
Everyone wants to whine and cry about Ben Affleck being a murderer, which he was. What about
psychopathic?
What about Michael Keaton? He killed people. He clearly killed lots of people in those films.
Absolutely, he did. Look at him.
And everybody glosses over that fact. Oh, well, I don't like Ben Affleck because he's a murderer and he kills people. Batman doesn't kill people. Yeah? Well, did you watch Batman in the late 80s and the early 90s? Because he sure as heck killed a lot of mofos, okay? This Michael Keaton Batman lit people on fire, threw people down in sewers with a bomb strapped to their chest. He murdered people, okay?
Yeah. And you know how you said earlier, you were talking about how when you were singing his praises, Michael Keaton, about how like he kind of like was the cinematic forefront for Batman or whatever back in the day. Like it was like a big deal and he's this guy or whatever. Well, he's the one who laid the foundation for Ben Affleck to be bad. If it wasn't for Michael Keaton, they probably would have never been lazy like DC writers are and said, you know what? Michael Keaton killed people, so we're gonna let Ben Affleck kill people. That's probably the only reason that they were like, you know what, all things are out the window because of the fact that in the 80s Michael Keaton was killing people.
Well, no, if I may, Michael Keaton didn't take the glee that Scott Snyder takes in his Batman movies of Batman murdering. It just kind of seems like a throwaway thing for him. And the reason is Snyder just doesn't understand the characters. Like, how it is. Like, I mean, look at a Superman, for crying out loud.
Yeah, he doesn't understand because he's lazy. That's what I'm saying. That's why those movies.
I don't think he's lazy. I think he's an edgelord.
Yeah.
You know what's crazy is there's so much of a movement right now to renew or restore the Snyder Cut and restore the Snyderverse and this and that. I personally did not have a problem with his Man of Steel. In fact, I have it listed in my top 5 of all time. But there was definitely some missteps. I would say that it's not hard for anybody to disagree with that. I mean, Batman versus Superman, Justice League was crap.
I want to say before you end this, we are going to have to revisit this conversation in about a year because we're going to have a whole new Batman.
We are.
Yeah. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Looks like he's going to do good in the role. I have very high confidence in this film and in his performance.
I know when the time comes that when that movie finally makes its way out and they start the
next
rollout.
month.
Is it really coming out next month?
March.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well,
that's wild. But that's awesome though. I mean, brilliant time to do this episode, because I'm sure in the coming weeks you'll be doing a little coverage of what's going on with Robert Pattinson's Batman. I am excited about that, because even just as simple as talking about the suit, it's looking like mobility is going to be in full flex with this Batman.
Oh yeah, he's slimmer. He's more of a ninja warrior, and probably a lot more of a detective too. But
we can hope.
Yes, we can only hope. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. To Lucas, to Sam, to Shane, to Jason.
Shout out to Sam, even though he's not here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Guys and gals at home, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments how you feel about this video. Who was your favorite Batman? Let us know. Look us up on TikTok and Instagram at Real Comic Book Cinema. You can also find us on Facebook, grandparents. To everyone else, have a wonderful day, and we will see you around next time.